Maradi rail line, which was done in Katsina, in Makira, Katsina. The project is expected to cost $1.8 billion. It's going to it's going to be carried out in about 36 months and is expected to freight about 3 million people and 1 million tons of goods a year. We'll be getting more details from the minister as to, why that choice. Because if we're talking about the rail lines, we're talking about decongesting the port and making Nigeria an export hub. Are we starting in the right place, so to speak?
I'm getting a bit... I'm beginning to think that one should ask people or ask Nigerians. When we did I think it was under Basanjo's regime, we talked about taking a pipeline from Nigeria to Ghana. Why didn't people question it? Why are we questioning just going to Maradi in Niger State? Nobody has been able to address that. But beyond that, maybe I need to explain to Nigerians. We're hired by Nigerians actually, so they pay our salaries. Maybe I need to explain, but I'm becoming a bit tired of explaining. Look, this feasibility study was not done by the Buhari's government. It was done under President Goodluck Jonathan. I don't see what is wrong with even the feasibility study. Neither do I see anything wrong in the decision by the President Goodluck Jonathan's government to proceed with a rail from Kano to Maradi. I've jokingly said to everybody, my wife is not from Niger Republic. Neither is the wife of the president from Niger Republic. In fact, I saw a joke that said that the president has a root in Niger Republic. Now, the reason I guess that President Goodluck Jonathan did that is because of the economic viability of that route.
So I think I presume that you're answering this question based on what you have heard previously.
Yes.
Yeah, but this question has been asked without any.
I'm coming to that.
Without any bias or without any prejudice to what has been said before or what has been done before. I'm just asking. Given your response, your earlier response, I think to my colleague Seun Kimbalui, as to the reason, which is to decongest the ports and make the nation an export hub and be more competitive. I want to imagine that it's supposed to be along a line of chain of events, so to speak.
Yes, I'm coming to that.
Where is that? Where is this project in that chain of events?
Yes, I'm coming to that. First, there's an ECOWAS decision on connecting the ECOWAS countries. This is one of those tracks. And I'm sure that must have also informed President Goodluck Jonathan's decision to do a feasibility study on it. Now, what this does is that at the time you complete Lagos to Kano, what you've done is the movement of domestic goods that probably some will be for export, some will be for import. Now, I've said before that we're not competitive enough. Our transportation system is not competitive enough to move goods from or landlocked countries. So imagine Niger that has borders with us is able to move goods from Benin Republic when we have a bigger port. Imagine that sometimes most of these countries go as far as Ghana and Ivory Coast, when you can go to the Nigerian seaports. And they have given several reasons, and I have restated these reasons to Nigerians. Talked about customs, talked about immigration, talked about crime, talked about police checkpoints, and that the cost of doing business in Nigeria is higher than the cost of doing business in Benin Republic. So to reduce the cost of doing business and improve our competitiveness, to also ensure that both Lagos, Kano, and some other parts of Nigeria are able to gain from economic activities emanating from movement of goods from Niger Republic, we have to connect the rail from Kano to Maradi. And look, just imagine their national goods, their national cargo, uranium, gold. So imagine that you're able to move them from Maradi to Lagos. And let's assume they're not able to move that day, so they sleep in Lagos, they'll pay for hotel, they have to eat food, they have to take a drink possibly, and some other expenses they may have to buy, go to your shop and all. There are a lot of economic activities that you manage from that alone. And doing that will not only grow the economy, it will help in the repayment of the cost of construction. Having a conversation with the Prime Minister of Niger Republic when I visited to seek approval for our intention to go into their territory, he said to us, we will try as much as possible and go into an agreement that most of their national cargoes would pass through Nigeria.
Wow. Indeed, that sort of agreement will be very necessary, because we also have to ask whether they're going to be funding any part.
No, they don't have to.
Of the project.
They don't have to, because we're just getting 20 kilometers into Niger Republic. That's one. And two, we are the people soliciting for their cargoes. And I've told you the advantages of moving their cargoes.
But it's going to benefit them as well, because if we're able to secure them coming on, on that particular line, we are hoping that because it will be competitive, it will be cheaper for their businessmen to use the line. Isn't that correct?
But don't forget that nobody knows what next step Benin Republic will take. Suppose they make it cheaper for them more than we. But we don't know. Well, it depends on when it is completed, who is the minister at that point, and how is able to make them buy into it. But I think we will not waste that money, because there's no basis for doing that.
The idea, it should be captured in the feasibility study.
We did. First, you don't do any rail line without a feasibility study. There are two key components you must do, apart from the bill of quantities, or bill of BEME, that's bill of engineering measurement. Apart from that, you have to do feasibility studies, and you have to do an ESIA. Those are the three things you must do to be able to construct a rail line. So it will be wrong for Nigeria to think that we're just crazy to waste funds or to borrow $1.9 billion for the construction of railway to Maradi. What is that in aid of? It's
remarkable. That first and foremost, this is the first one we're not given to the Chinese. This is being constructed by a Portuguese company, we understand. Is it Ento Angel also? Mota Angel, that's the name of the company. Do we have any agreements with the Portuguese government as a result of that?
It's funded by Europe.
Excuse me.
Don't forget, it's funded by Europe through their ECA. And we don't just call the Chinese and give to them. And for any project the Chinese take, they come with funding. So when this Portuguese company came and said, we're coming with our own funding, we didn't have a choice but to engage them. So it can be an American company, it can be a Nigerian company, anybody who comes forward with the necessary funds, we engage them.
Yeah, you've talked about the ports. The ports are another kettle of fish. Because part of the reason why people are asking about where this is situated in the chain of events, if this is about maximizing our ports, so to speak, where are we right now in terms of decongesting our ports? We understand that we have one of the most expensive rates of movement from just the ports to warehouses, even within Lagos. And you've heard LCCI cry out loud, Manufacturers Association of Nigeria cry out loud over this particular problems they're having with logistics. I know that, yes, there's a plan now to link Tinkan with Apapa. However, while that is about to start, what is happening with the congestion of the ports?
I thought you would wait and ask, because the responsibility of Ministry of Transport begins and ends at the seaport. It doesn't include the roads. So it's when we get the road to a motorable condition that those goods will move out. But the easiest way to answer that question is to say that we're already at the seaport with the rail. So most of the cargoes will go by rail out of the seaport. So I expect that in the next few months, we should begin to decongest the seaport, clearly asking. I'll talk with my colleague. And he told me that already there's a presidential approval on the tonnage that can go on our roads. The rest should go on the rail. Why are we not enforcing it? Why is the Ministry of Transport not enforcing it? We're not enforcing it because the rail is not everywhere. But as soon as we conclude what we're doing inside the seaport, we will enforce it between Lagos and Ibadan.
Because some people said, shouldn't that be where we would have focused our energies in the first few years of this administration? For instance, wouldn't that have had a huge impact? You smile. Wouldn't that have had a significant impact that will be felt in the economy by transporters and for those who are moving goods inwards into the country?
You know the funniest thing, Nigerians, it takes 9 months to have a baby.
It does indeed, I should know. I just had one.
Okay, so congrats. But again, why I say that is that it's not the day you marry that you have a baby. The day we were sworn in, don't forget we had applied to the Chinese government for a loan to do Lagos to Ibadan. The same time we applied for that loan, the same time we applied for Kano Kaduna. It took almost 2 years or a year plus to get the loan approval for Lagos Ibadan. As we're talking today, we're yet to get the approval for Kano Kaduna. You get the point? So it's not as if we didn't do anything. That's why I say it takes 9 months to have a baby. Because by the time we apply for the loan, they processed it and all that took a year plus. If not, our intention is, look, and that was the president's directive, was very clear. When we came, a lot of those contracts were awarded under President Obasanjo's regime. They didn't go to the seaport. The president insisted that there has to be an extension to the seaport. So we extended from Ebute Metta to Apapa just because we know that that is the key to movement of goods.
On the one hand, we apply for loans for some projects. On the other hand, we ask companies who want to come and work with us to bring their own funding.
The same there. If you say bring your funding, you have to apply. When I say bring your funding, that is if you're coming to us to say, well, we want to construct this rail, we have the capacity and all that, we will say, do you have a source of funding for us to apply? They must apply. They are not taking the loan. We will take the loan. So what I mean by apply is that the Chinese company has said, oh, yeah, we're ready to source the fund from China Exim Bank. Once China Exim Bank says, yes, we have the money, then the Nigerian government will apply to China Exim Bank.
The reason I pose these questions in this manner is, which one was going to come first for us in terms of the order in which we have ordered some of these projects. There are some projects that were already sitting pretty. For instance, the Abuja-Kaduna rail line was already about to be active. We came and finished, and and the project started. Now people are talking about more carriages, and more people are, still using that particular route. But which ones? How did we prioritize the projects when you took office?
All the projects the president had named were all priority projects to us. Lagos Kano, Lagos Calabar, Port Harcourt Maiduguri. These were the 3 priority projects, and these were the 3 essential routes in the Nigerian railway system. The only new one that we're adding now is the Central Line, which begins from Abuja to Baro, from Baro to Lokoja, Lokoja to Itabe, Itabe to Warri. We already have Itabe to Warri, even though we have to extend it to a new seaport. So there's no particular one that has higher distance than the other. It is just that at the time you have approved the contract, just like contracts, all the contracts have been approved. It now becomes, how do you get the money? The company says, talk to the government. They're ready to give us funds. But the process of getting the loan is what takes time. Do we request for the loan? Yes, we do request for the loan. We requested for loan for Lagos Calabar. In fact, I was in a meeting yesterday with the Minister for Finance. We were talking about how to get the negotiation going on the Lagos Calabar. We've also requested for Port Harcourt Maiduguri. We're also talking about how to get. So all of them depends on at what point in time we get the loan approval. The one for Kano was very fast. And why was it fast? Because by the time they indicated that they had money, we invited the bank to join us in our meeting for negotiation of the contract. So they were part of the process from beginning to the end, unlike the other ones.
So we have the money now indicated for the Kano Maradi.
Yes, but we have to wait for the approval of the cabinet for the terms of the contract. Terms of the contract of the loan, not the terms of the contract, because they've already approved terms of the contract for the contract itself, for the construction. So we have to wait for the approval of the terms of the contract by the cabinet, and then the approval by the National Assembly.
So give or take, the 36 months, which is expected to be the time frame in which the Kano Maradi is delivered.
6 months?
36
months, yeah.
It will take off. We'll start counting by what time, give or take?
Very difficult question to answer. You'll be making me Senate President, you'll be making me the President of Nigeria. Because it will come to the cabinet, the terms to be discussed, or will be making me SGF, not the President of Nigeria. Because the SGF has to bring it to the cabinet will discuss it, the President has to forward it to the National Assembly has to approve it. But rest assured, we were commencing construction.
Yeah, but as Minister of Transport, I mean, you are...
Those are factors not within my control.
Yes, indeed they are not. But you are hopeful that by so-and-so time...
No.
You are hopeful that it should start.
That drama in the National Assembly. That's what's affecting us in the Chinese loan. The Chinese wants to be assured before they approve the loan that the National Assembly will not continue with this sovereign, what they call it, clause.
The clause of sovereignty.
Yes. And it was just a normal clause in every such loan contract. for which doesn't mean that the president of China will be the president of Nigeria if we don't pay. It simply means that, look, you waive your sovereignty so that we can go to court. It is not, if you don't put that clause, when they go to court, we say, no, you can't take us to court, we're a sovereign nation. You get the point? Somebody now goes to town, oh, we didn't know that we've waived our sovereignty, they'll take over Nigeria. And there was a joke where they put the president eye and say, oh, look at the new governor of Katsina State, his name is Chu Chanwam. All those funny things. But now it's affecting us in getting the loan for Ibadan to Kano. Now, for the one of Motor Engine, we finished with the negotiation. They pass it on to the cabinet office. Cabinet office will bring it to the cabinet. It will be discussed. If approved, it will be forwarded to the National Assembly. If approved, we'll access the fund. But the funds are ready.
So what you're saying is that the project will be stalled in...
No. We're commencing construction in the next 2-3 weeks. The company intends to bring their own funds to commence pending when we conclude.
Honorable Minister, well, I will come to that shortly. That is if my colleagues do not raise it. But they have questions for you now. So we'll take you to Lagos where Chamberlain Ayo on standby. Gentlemen.
Honorable Minister, one of the main issues anyone will want to ask you, of course, is what are we doing to decentralize the ports? One example comes to mind, first of all, that one of the pioneer ports in Nigeria was the Calabar port, and along the line we seem to kind of shut it down and then paid attention to Lagos and the rest of it. Now, we have a problem in Lagos that you have referenced. We'll come back to that. But what's the plan to decentralize the ports so that we do not have the kind of congestion that has built up over the years?
The Ministry of Transport, or MPA, does not have the responsibility of determining where an importer or exporter will transact his business. So if the importer or exporter decides to transact his business through Lagos, then there will be that congestion. It does not necessarily mean that it is because the port is not efficient. The problem we have with congestion is that there's insecurity at the sea, which we are addressing. And we're having a battle with private interests that have captured security contract from several government agencies and private investors or private companies that deal with maritime. So now that we want out of the water, because we have put a security infrastructure that will protect the water from beginning to the end of our international waterways, they are fighting back. They are doing all sorts of things, petitioning everybody, petitioning me, go to National Assembly, go to EFCC, go to NFIU, everywhere, and I'm just watching. So the first thing to do is to address this security. The moment we're addressing this insecurity, it will encourage most importers from Onitsha, Aba, and other to use the Port Harcourt Seaport or Warri Seaport or the Calabar Seaport. So it's not about the fact that the seaports or the river ports are not available. That's one. Again, the Calabar port seals just like the Warri port. They seal so easily. So it's difficult to continue to deseal them regularly. What is the solution to that? The President has approved the construction of 3 new seaports in Nigeria. He has approved the construction of Lekki Deep Seaport. Lekki Deep Seaport should be ready next year, 2022. I insisted on that because I want this current government to commission the project. He has also approved the construction of a Bonny Deep Seaport. We are currently trying to acquire land so that the construction can commence. It will commence almost at the same time as we'll commence the construction of the Port Harcourt Maiduguri by either end of February or first week in March. Now, the President has approved the Bonny Deep Seaport. He has also approved the Deep Seaport in Warri. The challenge we are having in the Warri Deep Seaport that the President has approved is that nearly everywhere around where we want to construct seaport in Warri is very shallow. We are looking for 16-meter draft, and we can't get it. That's the problem we have with the Warri Seaport. Then, finally, he has also approved for the Akwa Ibom State Government the construction of Ibom, I think Ibom Deep Seaport in Akwa Ibom. So once those ones come into play, you have the ports that can take vessels of 16 meters and all that, and we improve the security. Then people can import through the different locations that I've just mentioned.
You've spoken about the security of those areas a lot in several interviews. So could you then tell us, what kind of success, where are we now with respect to some of the measures you say you're putting in place, because the clock is ticking, and then will states have any role to play in ensuring that happens? So what you're thinking about where we are now?
Well, as Nigerians, everybody has a role to play, but for the security infrastructure we put in place, we're almost ready. But I'm telling you, those who make money, billions of naira and dollars out of the sea, out of the water, out of the maritime. Imagine we have somebody, a company that the president just cancelled the contract. All the company does is just provide Navy with 2 boats or 3 boats, and they collect $2,500 per vessel that comes into Lagos for the first day. The next day they collect $1,500. Now that company made about $67 million last year. And who pays the money? The buyers, the ordinary Nigerian. Now we now say, this man, you can't continue. The federal government wants to take over the water, and he's petitioned everywhere. The company has petitioned me everywhere. Luckily, the president has cancelled the contract, so it's no longer ongoing. We intend to engage the Navy with our infrastructure. The infrastructure includes that the Army will be in charge of land security around the coast, and that they have armored vehicles and all that to protect our coastal line. We have the Air Force involved with aircraft that will fly 24 hours. We have the Navy that has the boats and the helicopters. We have drones and all that to protect the water. Once all this come into the water, then we'll have enough security. And once the water is protected and safe, international business will flow. Just imagine last week that people were kidnapped off Nigerian water. It's becoming a regular feature and becoming a bit embarrassing. That's why I've stopped attending international conferences on maritime, because of course they will raise the question when they go there.
Well, just one more thing from Lagos here, Honorable Minister. You talked about the workings within the ports as being, not within the ports as being responsible for the congestion, but you also understand, of course, that there are at least 30 agencies and unions within the Lagos port, for instance, some of which activities crisscross each other and get in the way, causing the build-up that eventually tails back to the roads. The challenge there, as have been posited by some, is that there is no central coordinating agencies for all of these unions and agencies, for which reason we have the tailback to the roads.
You're behaving like the passengers on the rail track. If the rail breaks down, they call me as a minister. If the toilet is bad, they call me as a minister. If the union is having problem with the railway, and they call me. There is the managing director of Nigerian Railway Corporation, just like there's the managing director of MPA. What's my business about what the unions are doing inside the seaport? That's the responsibility of the managing director of MPA. So I think that I will not be in the right position to answer that.
Honorable Minister, the MD of the MPA says she's not responsible for it. She doesn't take responsibility for that, for the customs and excise, for customs service, for instance. She doesn't take responsibility for that. And some of these agencies, they always work at cross purposes.
Is what you're reacting to. Well, but those agencies are agencies that are supposed to be at the seaport. We have, however, made the position clear to Cabinet that there are too many. We reduce them to 7. But by the time you wake up in the next 1 month, about 10 will come back. Who gives them approval? I honestly don't know. That's why I say that MPA will be in the position to answer. Because without an MPA approval, why should you get to the seaport? We need to run, maybe the new seaports will show. If you go to countries outside Nigeria, the seaports are not, they're just empty. Apart from those who do business. In Nigeria, it's like a village. Everybody is there, petrol, tankers. The time I went, it was last week I went to the seaport in Lagos. It was total madness, complete madness. There are touts, there are all sorts of people. But beyond those people whose responsibility is for MPA to clear them out of the seaport, the other agencies are there by the approval of the federal government. And, until the Cabinet approves the number of people that can go there, the Minister of Transport can't do much.
Well, there has to be, if you acknowledge that it is indeed a mess at the seaport, and that's something... In
terms of the number of persons who get there.
And that something needs to be done. Who takes responsibility for that? Overarching responsibility for that?
It depends on which one. If it's for those state actors that are found inside the seaport, I take responsibility. But when it comes to government offices, by law, MPA should actually approve.
So when you say non-state actors, you mean? If
you go to the seaport, you're not supposed to be there, not a state actor. A state actor is somebody who has been approved by the federal government. The federal government to be at the seaport.
Indeed. So if we see
but there are thousands of non-state actors that are there. I think I'll have a conversation with MPA because we really have to find a solution in this case where if you go to the airport is the best. It's not there are tasks in the airport. It's not as bad as what I saw at the seaport in Apapa. I think I need to have that conversation with MPA for them to clear. We need to do something to clear because you see it's against what the ISPO.
That's on the one hand. On the other hand, I know that largely, transport is what you'd like to focus largely on. However, we cannot run away from the fact that other factors external to transport could have an adverse impact on all the efforts that we're doing trying to build infrastructure across the country. Are you afraid, are you agitated in any way that some of the skirmishes we've been seeing across the country could have any impact on the infrastructure which you have been trying to put in place?
Guess why I'm laughing?
I can't guess.
Okay, you and I had a conversation before where I said you're my friend and you were trying to deny me. As my friend, you've known the picture of somebody who goes out and wants to confront such problems now. Now I have come to the reality of the fact that just focus on transportation. Let each person or each agency manage their own responsibility. So when you ask me of such external or extraneous factors, you must know that my how do you put it? My power to respond to such factors will be dependent on what authority I have.
Indeed, but I'm just wondering if, as minister, you're agitated in any way.
Oh, of course. In every Nigerian, there are things you expect to be done that are not done. Man. What will you do? It's not your responsibility, right?
What?
So you expect that each agency, and some ministers may not know.
Just agency. I'm talking about the skirmishes that have been happening across the country, the security situation.
Oh, no, don't get me involved.
I'm not getting you involved. I was wondering if you had any fear on your mind that with the way things were going, the infrastructure which you are working so hard to put in place could be affected because people could wake up one morning and destroy them.
Well, very good. There's a story in my village that in the morning when people are felling trees to farm, monkeys are jumping about celebrating. At night, that's their bedroom. They find out there's no bedroom again. So when you destroy transport infrastructure, it's your business. But first, if you luckily for us, we are not the agency. I think the only government agency that has its own police command. So we have the Maritime Police Command, domiciled at MPA. We have the Railway Police Command, domiciled with Nigerian Railway Corporation. If we see you near our infrastructure, we deploy the police. But if anything happens to the infrastructure, who loses? The country.
Well, we're hoping that it will not just go up all in. The work will be there for Nigerians to actually reap the benefit. We have to thank you for coming on Sunrise Daily this morning. Minister of Transport Chibuike Amaechi has been